Well, El Marie, I already know who I am, so I don't really need self-discovery because I already know who I am. So, yeah, yeah, I don't really need it. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You really do. You really do. But it's hard to fix a problem or it's hard to address a problem when you don't even know a problem exists. So let's talk about that today, shall we? Yes, we shall. Hey, lovies, welcome to the Discover Me podcast with your host, El Marie. If it's your first time, welcome, welcome. If it's not, then welcome back. And I appreciate you coming back for more. So here we talk about self-discovery. And sometimes we don't even know that we don't know who we are. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Looking at the signs, looking at the behaviors, looking at the thought patterns, understanding that we may not know exactly who we are, and we may have known who we were 5 years ago or a year ago, but things have changed and we feel them. We felt the shifting of things changing. What made us happy, what made us content, we're not really content anymore, but we can't really put our finger on it. We don't know why we can't be satisfied or why we're always seeking for something that we don't know what we're seeking for. We don't know why our friend group is changing. We don't know why. We don't know why. We don't know why. And that could probably come back. Most of the time, the root is self-discovery. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. What does that look like? Well, one thing that I've noticed that a lot of people that don't know who they are, they try to be everybody else. So they try to fit in with everybody else who they feel is getting attention, who they feel is cool, who they feel is like, oh yeah, I want to be like them, who they feel that is rich, or who they feel that they have the life that they desire. So let's start there. So you're always trying to fit in. Maybe this is you, maybe this is not. So let's just here, maybe it's just somebody you can share it with them. But you're always trying to fit in no matter what group comes along. You always want to be a part of a group. Okay. Now, as humans, we do long human interaction and we do long community. And that's one thing that we do long to have. But when you start changing, when you start changing your beliefs, when you start changing your core to try and fit in, to try and be popular, to try and be influential, to try and get and obtain money, you really don't know who you are, either period or who you are in this moment in time. If you knew who you were, then you wouldn't try to fit in. You would just be you, and the people that are attracted to you will become your friends. The people that are supposed to be in your circle will be in your circle, right? So you would be able to talk to almost anybody, but if you're introvert, you will be able to just get along with people, right? And just be yourself. And you will be able to say no. You will be able to say yes. And it depends on who you are. So I have learned that in fitting in, sometimes we become people pleasers, right? We want everybody to like us. We don't want to make anybody upset. We don't want to make anybody feel, hurt or disappointed. And that's got to do with self-discovery too, because we don't know our worth and we don't know our value. And maybe we know our worth and value, but we don't know what we're supposed to be doing in the moment, because who you are determines what you do. It's not the other way around. It's not the other way around. What you do does not determine who you are. Who you are determines what you do. Okay? And so a lot of times we're not really sure, and we're like, okay, we don't want people to be mad, because if people be mad, they won't be my friends. So I'm going to say yes to everything. And I was that person. I was a people pleaser, and it exhausted me. It exhausted me. When I figured out who I was, I understood my assignments, and I could kind of see God's plan for my life. So whatever didn't fit in that plan did not fit in my life. Whatever didn't fit in that assignment did not fit in my life. I can connect people to help now, but I don't want to always have to be I don't always have to be the help. Does that make sense? Like people can come to me and say, "Oh, El Marie, I need da da da," or I want da da da, or I desire something, and I don't have to be the one to feed them and guide them and lead them and teach them. I can just be that person that connects them to the person that or the program or the nonprofit or um, the consultant coach or whatever that they may be needing for that time. So I like to delegate. And sometimes people want to just work with me because they built a relationship with me, they trusted me. But if that's the case, then they trust the resources that I have to connect them with as well. So that works out. What's another way? What's another way that you are expressing non self discovery? And that could be in your work, in your career. You could put your career above everything else, above your family, above your spouse, above your children, above your happiness, above your hobbies, above your rest. And when we do that, we are trying to obtain some type of fulfillment in accomplishment instead of obtaining fulfillment in just who we are. Right? And so we work long hours, we pursue the next step so hard that we just let life pass us by and we don't even recognize who we are anymore. We become distant, we've become isolated, we've become this workaholic person, and we give up all of the goodness in our life to achieve this seemingly trophy of success that because we are putting our identity in our career, we never obtain it. We never do. We just get exhausted. We just get isolated. We just get in a place of possible depression if you let it go on far enough. And so that's another way to know that you are lacking in the self-discovery department. Then you could be that person that it's like, you're bouncing from place to place. You're bouncing from job to job. You're bouncing from business to business. You're just bouncing. You're just bouncing, honey. And you are not a ball. You are not a ball, Livy. So when we do that, we're looking for something. And sometimes we don't know it's ourselves. We are looking for something in every place. We're looking for a relationship when the relationship that we need is the relationship with ourselves so that we can be healthy in the relationship with others, whether it's friend, whether it's romantic, whether it's with your children or your family relationships. Whatever it is, you have got to know yourself first. And the reason that we bounce and bounce and bounce because we're not being fulfilled. The reason that we bounce and bounce and bounce because we're always looking for something that is missing. And the thing that is missing is your authentic self. Once you understand who you are, you won't bounce and bounce and bounce. You may move, you may have to pivot, but you're not bouncing, 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 right? So it's like whenever let me use myself as an example because I've been here before. I've been on the self-discovery journey for a long time. I've had a lot of jobs. I have had a lot of jobs. And they have been helpful. I have met some great people on those jobs, but I technically didn't need all of them. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew like the bigger picture, but I didn't know the details. And I didn't know at the time how to get those details. So I just bounced and bounced and bounced. But the thing is I knew I was learning my worth. So when I bounced, it wasn't because this just isn't fun anymore. No, it was because I was feeling disrespected in that job, or I was going to something else that I felt that was better at the time. And so I was learning my self-worth, but I was neglecting the details of my assignment. Okay. And so that's when I bounced and bounced and bounced. In the dating, I would date and date and date when I was dating different gentlemen. And I was like, oh, this is not it. And I would know within the first couple conversations or the first date, I'd be like, oh, this is not it. I could not pinpoint what it was. And I would have to redo my list. Because yes, I did have a husband list, honey. I did. And I'm not ashamed of it. And the list paid off. Okay. For me. It worked for me. Okay. Did I get everything on the list in some shape or form? It didn't look like what I thought it was going to look like, but it checked off. So anyway, I knew these other gentlemen before I got married. It was something that was missing. And it wasn't like the minute things. It wasn't superficial things. It was my core beliefs. They weren't being fulfilled. So because those things weren't being fulfilled, then I would just end it. And I didn't end it I was learning how to not, because I've ended some relationships in a horrible way. But as I matured and as I grew and as I started learning myself, I would just end them in a friendly manner, because it wasn't nothing that they were just horrible men and they didn't do this and they didn't do that. It's just that we weren't compatible. And I was dating to marry. I wasn't just dating to date. Okay. So whenever we look at these aspects, and then for me too, I bounced in my college years. I went from degree to degree. I didn't obtain but one degree. However, I would take several classes in this because I felt like I wanted to do this. And my feelings were valid because it came down to it, but what I was seeking after. So the pit of me, the core of me knew that I wanted to teach, or I was supposed to be a teacher. The core of me knew that I loved children. The core of me knew that I was supposed to be a leader. The core of me knew that I was supposed to be a communicator, but I didn't know exactly what that looked like for me. Okay? For me. And that's the thing. You have to find out what works for you. I can tell you all kinds of careers that I think that you should go in, but it may not be for you. So for you is very important. And I use that a lot because there is no cookie cutter way, because we are not cookie cutter human beings, right? And so when I got out of high school, my focus was on business. Then it turned to human relations. Was it human relations? Human resources, which I found out that was nothing but policies and procedures. It wasn't actually helping people on the job. So I didn't go that route. Then I went to the teacher route. But they all were pieces of my core being. And those things worked out for me because I learned a lot. So I can't go and tell you, oh, you're a great communicator, you should be a public speaker. No, because that may not be the way that you should go. If you're a great communicator, maybe you should have a talk show, or maybe you should have your own podcast, or maybe you should be the person facilitating meetings and discussions and things like that to keep the ball rolling. I don't know. These are things that you have to figure out. These are things that God can help you with. Well, God can not only help you, he can just tell you, because he's the one that really knows, He's the one that knows because he's the one that created you. And so he's the one that put these strengths in you. He's the one that put the weaknesses in you. And it's like, why do I have weaknesses? You have weaknesses to gain community. And I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. And so I outsource my weaknesses when I can. And then I utilize my strengths. So that is what we need to start doing. That is what we need to start focusing on. Focus on, so this is our life work. So really evaluate, do I really know who I am? Do I really know what my identity is? Do I really know my purpose in this world? Do I really know my assignments? Do I really know what I'm supposed to be doing? Okay? Because we don't want to keep letting time go by and we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing in this world. We're not affecting the people that we're supposed to be affecting. We're not helping the people we're supposed to be helping, because we're just out here walking idle and we don't know where we're going. We don't know what we're doing. So our life work this week is to journal. We're going to take out our journals. We're going to ask ourselves the questions. Who am I? And of course, whenever we ask that question in self-discovery, it's not about what you do. It's not about what you do. It's about your strengths. It's about your innate giftings and talents that you have. It's about how you Think about what makes you excited, what makes you so fired up. Like for me, it's children. I get so excited when we're talking about children and we're talking about children development, when we're communicating with children and we're talking about the growth of children and really cultivating their gifts and purposes. I get so excited. I get so fired up. But I also get so angry when we're talking about the detriment of children, when we're talking about these school policies that don't work, this education system that is broken in the United States. When we talk about all the child abuse, the child neglect, all those things, that gets me upset. You know, it burns my biscuits. All right. And so I know that's the passion in me. And I know that's a part of who I am. So think about the things that you're passionate about. Thinking about the things that you are so good at, right? Think about those things. And so I'll give you an example. So who am I? I'm a nurturer. I'm a mother. Okay. I'm a leader. I'm a communicator. Right. So that's 4 things. So just think of 4 or 5 things to journal. Don't overdo it right now. We'll work with those 4 or 5 things. Okay. So that's 4 things that I am. What am I passionate about? I'm passionate about children. I'm passionate about communication. I'm passionate about teaching. Those are things that I'm passionate about. I really give, and I'm not a teacher. I'm not a speaker yet. But I communicate through books. I communicate through this podcast. I communicate through social media. I communicate face to face. So those are the things. So I know that that's who I am. And so I can work with those things. So for your life work, 4 or 5 aspects of who you are, and then let me know your passions. Okay. Come back, leave them in the comments because I want you to go think about them, or follow us on social media at Your Self-Discovery Coach on Instagram, and in El Marie's Place as well. You can find me there as well. And all of those links will be in the description box. Okay. All right, lovies. In this chaotic world, always focus on the good. Until next time, toodles.